Darold Miller Live. We're going to move quickly because this is a busy day for a lot of people, including former Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much, Darold. When you called and asked me, when your people called and asked me to come, and I realized that this was your last day, I say, I must come and celebrate this last day with you.
Thank you very much. And tomorrow is my birthday. And you mean a lot to me. I'll tell you why. You came through Angleton and take one of our beautiful girls.
Yes, that's where my wife is from. She's from Washington Street.
Yes.
And of course, I lived basically almost across the street because Angleton was separated by East Street.
East Street, and then you get the Grove.
And the Grove.
Yeah.
And I was in the Grove, the street just parallel, almost next to East Street. So we were only about
what street was that?
Blocks. Exuma Street. It's
Exuma Street.
Changed to Amos Ferguson Street.
Yes.
And
that's the first one after.
That's right.
Yeah.
And she went to Patton Church. And Patton Church was there on Exuma Street and Bahama Avenue. And I lived Exuma Street right next to Bahama Avenue. So I would have seen her and her family and all those attending church service every Sunday. There.
And you had your eye on Pat back then.
Well, I couldn't say. I was a young little boy at that time growing up, and you just basically used to look, admire many things.
Yeah. I want to get this story right. You used to sell paper or shine shoes?
Both.
What?
I used to sell The Guardian every morning. I used to buy 30 newspaper. You bought them at 10 cents at that time, and you sold them at 50 cents. So every morning I would make a profit of about $1.50. And then in the afternoon, because the Tribune was an evening paper, in the evening I would sell the Tribune.
Uh-huh.
And the Tribune, you lined up on the side of a window where you gave your name and you said how many papers you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to buy 30 papers every evening also. And again, that was 10 cents.
Sell them?
You sold them. I sold those also. So I'd make $1.50 in the morning from the Guardian and $1.50 in the evening from the Tribune.
Uh-huh.
And then on Sunday I used to shine shoes.
Where, downtown?
No, I used to shine shoes. I had my route. My route was Baintown. My route was Hospital Lane. So we would start from about Dunmore Street and go on one side of Hospital Lane heading up towards Meeting Street. And how the people would know that we're coming, because there was always a sort of shoe shine boy song.
Yeah.
So as we coming up, we'd be there. Shoe shine, shoe shine. Shoe shine, shoe shine. So they would hear the voice as we come along. And what was amazing, a lot of them would leave the shoes on the porch. So as you had your customers, so as you go in towards Meeting Street, you would clean the shoes, polish them, sole dressing, etc. And on many occasions, they'd leave the money in the shoes. Nobody would have stolen them or would have stolen the money. And then as you returning towards your home, Dunmore Street, you would then tackle the other side, and you had your customers again. But what I liked about it, a can of black polish was about 25 cents. And you could make about $20 of it. So I enjoyed. He made a lot more money of shining shoes. And of course, I also did tailoring. So I used to sew. My mother was a seamstress, what we used to call a dressmaker at that time. And she always, parents always wanted...
What was her name?
Rosalie North.
Rosalie North?
Yes. And parents always tried to encourage a member of their family, one of the kids, to follow in their footsteps. And I was very close to my mom, and she used to try and teach me how to sew, etc. And I learned how to sew. So I used to sew pants on East Street, next to Taylor Street at Morrison Taylor House at that time. It was upstairs, almost next to Taylor Street. And I would do that especially after school. Now, what was amazing, it took about an hour to make a pants. And I think he got paid, must be $3 or $4 per pants. They would cut, and we basically just stitch. And you had to create buttonholes, the zipper and everything. And so 1 hour, you made $3 to $4. It took about 3 days to make a coat, because a coat you had to do a lot of padding, internal padding and whatever else. And at the end of 3 days, you only made about $1 more than you got for pants. So I had no interest
in making
how to make a coat. It made no economic sense. So I made pants. So here it is. You'd make $3 in the morning selling the Guardian, $3 in the evening selling Tribune, and you're making pants. $3 to $4 making pants.
The school pants for
Yes, my school pants for St. Augustine's, and I would make pants to basically wear. Now, and the cloth, the material at that time, I'd always remember used to it was terraline and mohair. I don't know what they use nowadays, but you'd always go and buy your terraline and your mohair and whatever else. And I enjoyed it. So my mother, because she knew I recognized that I enjoyed the sewing, she subsequently had bought me a sewing machine. At that time, it was Singer. I don't know what the machines are today, but it was a Singer sewing machine, and I had my own machine. So I would have made my pants, and then my mother, being a seamstress, she would help and make my shirts.
So that entrepreneurial spirit, you talking about you 14, 15 at that time, right?
Yeah, a lot younger. And then my father, he had a service station, so I used to go there.
Still got it.
And pump gas, that's right. And patch tires. So, of course, in those days, they used to call you tire boys and whatever. But what was amazing, a lot of people would come to the service stations, and I don't think they recognized that the gas station attendants, the tire boys, the gas pump operators, we worked, we got minimal pay, but we worked especially on tips. There were some people who tipped well, and there were others who didn't. So you can imagine, once the tippers come, we all ran to serve that individual. So you want to serve the tipper, you want to ensure that the tires are proper air pressure, you clean the windshield and all the glass, etc., so that you can increase your tip.
Right.
When the non-tippers come, nobody want to go. So they would always grab myself, the other younger ones, and force us out to go and serve the non-tippers. And we would try our best in terms of being nice to them, giving them excellent service. And every now and again, they would give you tips and whatever else. But I enjoyed it. So a lot of my money I used to save. But
that's what I want to get to. What you did with the money. You weren't a playboy.
No. Every penny we made, I automatically gave it to my mother.
Wow.
So the monies that I made from pants, she would get that. And she would just give me basically an allowance. So if I wanted a bicycle, she had the monies that I would have saved. But at the same time, she would use a little of the money that I saved, and then she would infuse her money also. Because it was her view that you have a greater appreciation for something if you yourself had an investment in it. So anything we wanted, she ensured that we also had some form of investment. Now, my brother Boxer was very, very, I would say.
He's not with us anymore.
No, he's still with us. Cecil passed away. Boxer is in Grand Bahama. Now, Boxer and I were basically opposite. I was more calm, level-headed. I basically was tried to look for agreements, resolve disputes. Boxer, on the other hand, he entertained disputes. And Boxer he took after my mother in terms of her generosity and kindness, because it was not unusual that if we were late coming home, if there were neighbors in the area who had nothing to eat or whatever, my mother basically would have given them everything and ensured that they had something to eat. And when we came home, there was nothing. Her view was that if you were really seriously hungry, you would have come home earlier. The mere fact that you stayed out, you didn't really care. And so she was very kind. And Boxer essentially took after her. Boxer would basically give away everything. So even when I purchased my Playboy bicycle, or I got a new pair of tennis, which was Convoys at that time. Convoys. I got a new pair of tennis. Boxer would see somebody in the neighborhood or an adjoining area who did not have a bicycle, but who wanted and was working hard for a bicycle. And when you look around for your bicycle is gone. Boxer gave the bicycle away. And
big fight then.
And he would do the same thing with your tennis. You bought a new tennis. There was somebody in the area who had none, who was walking barefoot, etc. Boxer felt that they needed it more than you, so he would give away your tennis also. And of course, Boxer was stronger than me, so I never used to confront him in terms of fight. Yes, I would raise hell and whatever else, and tell him that's wrong. But that's him, and he's still like that. And my mother was, she was like that. For example, when I returned from school as a physician,
hold on now, because I want to know how you get to school, because sound like you wasn't into no medicine.
No. I went to Western Junior, which is C.R. Walker. I went to C.R. Walker, and from C.R. Walker, I subsequently went to St. Augustine's. St. Augustine's, you had to pay, and it was very hard on us. In fact, I used to get sent home every semester during the first week of school because school fees were not paid in a timely manner, and you'd always get sent home.
So now, your mom paid some and your dad paid some?
And then, of course...
They weren't living together?
No, I'm from single parent.
Yeah.
So my dad would have infused what he had to do, his commitments, etc. My mom would meet her commitments, and then the monies that I saved, we would use also.
Right.
And... we were living in Baintown at that time, and I never understood poverty. Because as far as I'm concerned, I woke up every morning, I had friends, we played, I had a meal every day, I was happy, never really understood poverty. And I didn't, and I used to get sent home every semester, because school fees late, etc. It was three of us, three young men. I wouldn't call their names at this particular time, but they know who they are, because I always talk about it. And it wasn't until, I think, in Form 3, which would have been equivalent to grade 10, that I understood poverty. Because I used to come across the school intercom, and I was in what we call room 51. I don't know if St. Augustine changed the system now, but it was room 51. And you would always hear, would the following students please report to the principal's office? And one day, a student who is well known within society today, he said, before they even called the names,
he knew.
He said, Minnis, so-and-so, y'all might as well get up and go. And that was the first time I really understood poverty. I understood then that we could not afford, I could not afford to go to school. Grand Bahama was opening up, and they were doing very, very well. You could have gotten 2-3 jobs in Grand Bahama. My eldest brother, Cecil, he went to Grand Bahama, and he worked, and he sent money back home to my mom.
He was building those places.
That's right, in Grand Bahama.
In Freeport itself.
That's right.
Yeah.
And he was a carpenter, and he did more with kitchen, cabinets, etc. And he would send money home to my mom every week to help support the family, etc. And because Grand Bahama was doing so well, in grade 10, I wanted to drop out of school. And I said...
And go to Grand Bahama?
That's right.
To work?
To go to work. I said to my mom, listen, we really can't afford it, There are a lot of job opportunities. I think, why don't you let me join Cecil, go to Grand Bahama, I can work. Cheryl was the youngest of all of us, that's my sister. And I said, why don't we concentrate our resources, our monies, and concentrate on Cheryl and make sure Cheryl go to college, etc., and succeed, as opposed to try to spend the little we have to share with everybody. And she did not agree. She was totally against it. And she said no. She wanted me to be her first child to attend a university and graduate from a university. So we persevered and everything. And
so she had a plan for you.
That's right. And so I went off to school. During my third year, I truly wanted to study. I wanted to be a marine biologist because I thought that the oceans and the sea was the future of the world. And I wanted to be a part of that future, research, development, etc. And during my third year at University of Minnesota, I applied to University of West Indies for medical school because that's what my mother wanted, but that wasn't what I wanted. I wanted marine biology. So to please her, I applied, and I was accepted.
At UWI?
At UWI.
In Kingston?
In Kingston. But I didn't want to go because I had this great phobia, this fear that I would not succeed, that I could not do it. Because in St. Augustine, the teachers, and I'd always remember, especially, there was the physics teacher, Mr. Hitchner, I remember it very well. His view, and they put this fear within us as students, that only the A student can make it in medical school. And I obviously was not an A student, so I had this great phobia that I could not pass. And I was afraid of failure. So I didn't want to tell my mom that. So during my third year, having been accepted, I turned it down, and I wrote to the university and turned it down and asked if I can get a deferment. And they wrote me back and told me, no, they don't give deferments.
Meaning to get your money back?
No, meaning that they would just hold my spot.
Until later?
For the next year, that's right. And they said, no, I would have to apply again. And if I apply again, competition becomes even more stiff. And there's no guarantee that I may be accepted.
So you decided to stay?
No, I decided. So I turned it down. I stayed in university. And I used to, but at that time, there was a young lady I met, so I really wasn't that interested in going anyhow, because I wanted to really stay there, you know, you understand. And so I turned it down, and I really wanted to do marine biology. And I applied. Well, I used to attend summer school, which meant that you were on an accelerative or fast track. And I was finishing a bit, at least one semester ahead of time. So I needed something else to do to stay in university. So my major was biology. I then picked up a minor and minored in Black history. So I got a minor from University of Minnesota in Black history. Then
was Peter Gilcott around?
Peter Gilcott was there. Peter Gilcott came during my junior year. Peter Gilcott and then Michael Thompson and Osborne Lockhart. They all came and they used to play for the Gophers. Gophers. So I used to go down and watch the Gophers. And then Dave Winfield, who went pro with the New York Yankees, he was there. So all of us used to go out and watch the games, etc. Winfield was a basketball player, but he was also very good at baseball, and they recruited him for both basketball and baseball, but he subsequently went into baseball. So I applied to marine biology school again. I had not heard anything, and I came home that summer. And my mama asked me whether I had applied for medical school, and I said no. But I didn't really want to tell her that I was frightened. And she said, no, I should apply to medical school and whatever else. So I subsequently, to please her, because I really loved my mom, and I would have never done anything to sort of hurt her or make her feel somewhat bad. And I applied to medical school again, and they accepted me again. And I still did not want to go.
This is at UWI?
That's right. And my mother and my sister, Doris, who has passed away, they both encouraged me to apply. So I applied and I got accepted. And I was still frightened and didn't want to go. And I said to my mom that I really want to do marine biology, and I'm waiting to hear from them. And her and my sister sat me down and they said, listen, let's compromise. We recognize that you want to do marine biology. That's where your passion and your heart is. But my mom's exact words, I don't want you to stay here waiting to hear from particular schools. Sometimes it may take a year. And her fear is, and you know, I'll use her exact word, no disrespect. Her fear was that I may get attached to Howard's these female gown tail. And once I get attached to that, then I would not want to go off to school.
Yeah.
And my whole life would change. So her and my sister sat me down and said, let's strike a compromise. Go into medical school. We know you want to do marine biology. While you're there, apply for marine biology again. And once you're accepted into marine biology college, university, you can then drop out of medical school and pursue what you want to do. And I thought that was a compromise because they really did not want me to remain in New Providence working or even
looking at them gown.
That was our words. That was our words.
Take a pin. Because we got to take a break. We got some commercials. We got to deliver. We got paid for them. This is our last show. We are so pleased to have Dr. Hubert Minnis, former Prime Minister, here with us. You eventually finished. You eventually finished the degree because we can hear the rest when we come back.
Right.
But it seems as though you have a passion for education.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, a real passion.
That's right.
And we're going to hear more about that. Your degree that you eventually got was
biology.
I mean, what you call it? You deliver baby.
Oh, as a doctor, an obstetrician gynecologist. Yeah. That's right. That's right.
You got that from another school?
That's from the University of West Indies and the British. From the UK. I got what you call, I became a member of the Royal College. So I would written the British postgraduate examination as well as the UWI. So UWI would have given me a doctorate of medicine in obstetrics and gynecology.
Okay, we got to take a break and we'll be back. This is a special edition, my last day of Darold Miller Live. Welcome back to Darold Miller Live. Hello, Darold. Wishing you a happy and healthy birthday. May God grant you many more. All the best in your new endeavors. What is the age? I got to say the age. It's coming from Ms. Nabi. I can be 68 tomorrow. By 1 or 0, 68. But it's the 21st day of July. There people buying numbers like crazy, man. Dr. Hubert Minnis is our guest. He got to go soon. So I ain't going to take no call now. I want to ask you, sir. I've been dying to ask this. What really is your political passion? Why you want to get into politics? You talked a lot about education in the first segment. Is it because you want to make sure that Bahamians are educated and can compete around the world with the best?
Yeah, my passion is education. When the PLP came in power in 1967, a lot of us were not educated. We were basically poor, etc. The PLP, Pinland recognized, he and his team recognized that the way to move the Bahamian people and the Bahamian nation forward is through education. You must educate your people, and you must at the same time try to provide some form of accommodation. He recognized that education was the key for social development, and education was the key for wealth. And I share that same philosophy, that education is the key. And he took it up to a certain stage, and I wanted to take it to another stage. And I had men around me, like Jeff Lloyd and others, who I thought did an excellent job. We recognize when one of the problems we found in terms of Bahamas, 60% of the students, young people, entering grade 1 are not prepared for grade 1.
Meaning they don't know how to read and write?
That's right, and they are not up to standard to enter grade 1. Then they move on to grade 3 with that same deficit, and therefore they're not prepared for grade 3. They move to grade 10, and they still have that deficit. Some may have overcome that deficit, but they're not prepared, and hence we end up with the problems we have today. So we recognize that the foundation, preschool, the foundation is the most pivotal component of education. If you have a
so you did something?
Yes, we did something. We expanded preschool. And in fact, we increased preschool by 4-fold increase. We ensured that individuals between 3 and 5 years would enter preschool before they go into grade 1. And therefore, you would have a solid foundation, and you move that solid foundation, which would improve your chances of social development and wealth development and leadership as you move through the country. We increased that by 4-fold, but we also recognized that we did not have sufficient preschools. The affluent, yes, could go to private schools, but those who did not have funding, there was nothing for them. So what we did, we introduced a program where we allowed the private schools to accept students from the public sector.
That the government paid for.
That the government paid for. And we would pay the private schools $2,000 per year per student. We also recognized that a lot of the private preschools were not up to par. And therefore, we wanted to ensure that they were up to par, to ensure that our students was entering an environment that met government standards and would prepare them and carry them on. So we had, there were about 36 schools. We gave them each about $25,000 so that they can make the necessary changes in their school, be it structural or educational changes, to prepare for students and accept more students, because we didn't have sufficient school. We also, there were $2,000 per student they were receiving. We also recognized that there was a problem, especially with the Family Island. We're not Nassau-centric. Nassau is not the Bahamas, and the Family Islands must also have preschooling facilities. They did not have it. So we came up with a formula. And what we said, if you have the qualification and you want to start a preschool in any Family Island, we, the government, would give you the land free. We'd allow you to build your preschool duty-free. We would give you all, no taxes, anything, so that you can develop your school. And every student that you accept into that school, we would pay you $2,000 per year.
They should jump for that.
And in addition to that, what we also offered was, because you may still have shortage of funds in spite of all the tax incentives, we would, through the Small Business Development Center, we would give you a grant and a loan so that you can develop the preschool to ensure that those in the Family Islands also.
You can't beat that. What happened?
The private schools here would have accepted that. And therefore, we were able, because of the acceptance, we were able to increase the numbers of individuals attending private school, preschool, by 4-fold. So you can imagine now we have a strong foundation moving forward, and we have to plug in the gaps in the other areas. Now, what was interesting, we also recognized that we must improve the pass rate or certification of those leaving high school. We moved the pass rate from 44% up to 59%.
Excellent.
So the pass rate had increased during our term. Though short and though plagued with pandemic and Dorian, etc., the pass rate had moved from 44% to 59%. So education is key. So you look at preschool, you've increased the pass rate in the high schools, but you also have tertiary education. You have University of Bahamas and we have BTVI. So we made University of Bahamas free for all Bahamians. and we made BTVI free for all babies. So it was the first time in the history of the Bahamas that BTVI had complete, full enrollment. The University of Bahamas, the numbers subsequently increased also, but there was still a challenge. Students coming from the family islands still suffered some degree of deficit because the parents were concerned where they were going to live, how they were going to be fed, etc. So every student coming from the family island, in addition to attending university or BTVI or BAMSI free, they were also given $500 per month to assist them with their accommodation, living expenses, etc. And that was a successful program, and I'm happy to hear that the government is continuing on such a program.
Dr. Minnis, what happened? Why you get beat?
Only the public can answer that. I can't answer that. Only the public. Only God would know.
I think you called it too early. Let me tell you what my assessment was, and then you could respond. I think Halson, Moultrie, and others within the FNM caused you to say, you know what? Let's go early and see what happens.
I won't get into that. There are a lot of specifics about it. The beauty about things, Daryl, I've always kept diaries. I document things throughout my career. My entire political career is documented. And I don't want people to write my history. Let the facts come out.
Yeah.
And that is all diarized. And one day that would be out. So people would know exactly why this decision, why I did that, why the next thing. It's all documented.
You're saying you're going to write a book.
I basically have already started. I'm doing a book in 3 phases. I'm doing 3 books. The first one I hope to be out before December.
Okay.
The first part would be the life of Dr. Minnis up through university.
Selling paper.
All of that.
Shining shoe.
All of that would be in it. That's part 1.
Making pants.
All of that is part 1. Then part 2 would be my medical career and investment. How I got to where I am and the decision in going into politics.
And then part 3.
Part 3 is the political career of Dr. Minnis.
Well,
so that for all intents and purposes, that is easy to complete because everything is diarized. It's written there. And that book, the diary, is kept locked away so that nobody would have access to it. And so get back to the education. So we increase the number of individuals being certified, graduating from high school. But what is most important, though we were plagued with a pandemic, the BJC results and BGCSE results was the best. We had the best passes in 2021 for the past 25 years. In spite of the pandemic and in spite of Dorian, the best BJC and BGCSE result for the past 25 years was obtained in 2021 in spite of the pandemic. But what that showed us was that parental involvement played a pivotal role. Because during the
tutoring and helping out the child at home.
That's right. Because during the pandemic, they were at home. And their elder brothers or sisters who were also at home helped them. Their parents helped them. And that's why we were able to improve the success rate. We were able to improve the BGCSE result, the best results in 25 years. Being obtained in 2021 under the FNM government in spite of the pandemic. So one has to really analyze and determine what did we do, what happened during the pandemic, what did the educational system, the educators, Jeff Lloyd and others, what did they do to obtain such excellent results for the past 25 years, better than any results we've had in 25 years. So we provided free education. We ensured that university, that students coming from the family islands. And then the other thing, we recognized we needed to look at revolutionizing the educational system. Now, that has been looked at a long time, but we continued to look at that and digitizing the system. We started digitizing the system from we became government. We were very fortunate. When we left, the system was 90% digitized. But we were very fortunate because the day before Dorian struck the Bahamas, we opened up our virtual school.
Well,
at education. The virtual school was opened at education. Now, what that did, individuals...
Meaning you could stay at home?
That's right. And you can go online, and you can attend classes, etc. And so when Dorian struck, and we had opened that the day before Dorian struck, it meant that students were in the position, those from Abaco, Grand Bahama, to continue with their studies online. So we were very fortunate. But we continued our digitization system. We continued that. And we have done very, very well with that system. And that is the system that carried us through the pandemic.
We're coming to the end of our show now. I got one more question to ask you. Would you like to sit in the Prime Minister's chair again?
Darren, my entire life, my future, that's in the hands of God. Only God can answer certain questions. But there's one other thing I would like to say. We embarked on transforming the educational system. And I would hope that the people and the government recognize what's happening in the world. In the world today, we are undergoing what you call a technological revolution. You remember we went through industrial revolution? We are now undergoing a technological revolution. And if the government and the people don't recognize it and don't prepare, the Bahamas will be left behind.
Meaning the Haitians coming, the Cubans coming, the Brazilians coming, and can take all the jobs?
No, what it means is that we are moving now towards AI, artificial intelligence. We are moving now towards online education. We are moving now towards everything doing by technology. It's a technological revolution. And the time has come, and I will explain a lot of this later, just to give you a brief overview right now, and I'll explain it later. The University of the Bahamas must now look at the possibility of establishing a department of technology preparing us for AI and other technological advancement, or the Bahamas will be left behind. Or the University of Bahamas must establish, if they don't have a department, they must establish a college of technology and AI advancement within the University of the Bahamas. But Daryl, I can explain that.
Daryl, good afternoon. You will be missed tremendously. I commend you for inviting our former Prime Minister, Dr. Hubert Minnis, to your last show. Today, the Bahamas is seeing him in a different light, in a good way. All the best to you, Daryl, in your future endeavors. I got to hit you one or two more questions, too. I want to see you in a good light, too. But, yeah, you got to go. But Michael Pintard in charge.
And that is true. Michael Pintard is the leader of the FNM. And I and others should respect leadership. You may not necessarily agree with certain things, but the point is, you don't vocalize that outside.
Yeah.
That's the leader. You must respect the leader. And the leader must also respect you. It's mutual.
Hubert Ingram.
It cannot be a one-way street.
Hubert Ingram is too old to come back?
No, nobody's too old. You must remember that.
So Dr. Minnis is not too old to
Nobody's
come back.
too old. You must remember that once ago, most of the leaders were in the 90s. Go back and reflect to the leaders in
You're talking about European leaders.
That's right. So, no, Hubert Ingram or others, Perry Christie, none of those are too old. They have their faculties, they're thinking coherently, they still have a lot to offer, etc. No, the answer to that is no. But I was happy to come here.
I see a glint in your eye somewhere.
No.
I don't know, but it's good to have you. I consider you, especially when you start talking about St. Augustine and then the University of Minnesota with Peter Gilkert and Exuma Street and Washington Street. I consider you a corner boy.
Yes, I consider myself that too. I just want to plug in something since everybody is listening. Gambia, we will be having Gambia Day on the 7th of October. I think that's August Monday. I invite
Hold on now. August
7th of August, my
yeah.
apology.
Yeah.
I invite them all to come down and participate and support the Gambia community. It's a beautiful event, beautiful day, lots of activities, etc. That will be closed out at 11 o'clock that evening by members of the Saxons Superstars. I myself will be participating, being a member of the Saxons, me and my grandson. And we are known as Bellas, and both he and I ring cowbell. And they can be assured that on that particular day, as the Saxons close out the Gambia activities, we will be the lead dancers in the Saxons on that particular day. So I invite them to come and see new moves that they've never seen before.
Okay.
Thank you.
They're telling me I got to go to Mr. Raming. Don't go. Let me hear what Mr. Raming say. Mr. Raming, you got 10 seconds.
Well, Darold, I just wanted to say that I want to give you the thanks for what you've done.
Oh, this Latre?
It's Latre, man.
Why they didn't say Latre? They say Mr. Rami.
I could.
No, Latre is responsible for me being here. When the white man you had just chairman, when he fired me, Latre made sure that I got back. You ain't had nothing to do with that.
Darold, I just wanted to say, man, I wanted to thank you for your contribution you've made to journalism in the Bahamas. I feel like if we had more like you, we'd be in a much better place. Thank you for giving me the platform to share my ideas and my thoughts and opinions on the politics and national and current affairs.
Thank you.
You've been a personal friend and mentor. And, on the other side of your retirement, I'm a friend. And I hope to support you and encourage you as you go through your next steps. And I want to say thank you to your contribution to national development and say hi to my friend inside there as well.
Yes, Latre Raming.
Thank you very much, Latre. Continue to do well.
Okay.
You know what I like? Across the political divide, we can help and nurture and train and uplift others.
No, I've been monitoring individuals like Latre, and I think he has a bright future.
Yeah, he does.
He stay focused and don't get into the politics too much in terms of some individuals victimized. Don't fall apart of that.
Yeah.
If we want to move forward, then I've always said I hire individuals. I'm not interested in your politics. All I want to know is that you do your work.
Good to hear.
Be a professional.
Good to hear.
That's all I ask.
Let's go get a piece of cake.
Thank you very much.
But you owe me a Divine Cafe now.
Okay.
We got to come back to, anyhow, we can talk that another time. Thank you. I'm gone. God willing, I don't know. Maybe a legend is when I'll be back. Thank you.